think nearing or maybe even past 100 million views on the internet so far. Kony 2012.
Da, da, da.
That was very good dramatic effect. I'm impressed. Do you guys?
We don't need a soundtrack.
Yeah. I think we can do this for the whole soundtrack. I don't even need to add in music later. This is going to be great. By the way, if you already heard music, that means that actually we did need music, and I was just lying to them, just so you know. They weren't that good, clearly.
I have a live update on how many views this video has.
Is this just on YouTube, or is it YouTube and Vimeo, or is it...
Just on YouTube.
This is YouTube alone. Okay.
76,734,889 views.
And this thing launched on March the 4th.
1 week ago.
1 week ago.
Jesus Christ, that's a lot.
So, regardless of content, I want to go there first and say, how the fuck do you virally get a video to those sort of figures in a matter of days?
You have help.
Yeah. I mean, I saw this after 4 days and it was already at just under 70 million on YouTube at that point. Mm-hmm. And it just staggers me how you can go viral and hit that many views in just such a short period of time.
That's what I want to know. Where's the special little robot, web bot thingies that go around and spam everybody so it makes it look like there's 76 million views, but there's actually only 25?
Yeah, the Kony bot.
The Kony bot.
The Kony bot. Yes.
Do those kind of things really exist?
Well, they might. Possible.
I don't know, Phil. You're the IT expert here. Tell us, does this real?
Does this real? What do you want it to do? You want it to be a miniature web bot that goes out and just makes everything look like there's 60 million views when really there's only 5.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
That's a busy little robot, huh?
Uh-huh.
You see, now that's the kind of thing, right? They promised us years ago that we would have robots and computers that would make us only work for 3 days a week because they were so awesome. And I want that, and that hasn't happened. Now, if web bots were really that cool, that's what we're talking about. Is it possible? Maybe. But I think that would get picked up on YouTube pretty quickly, and I think it would get exposed pretty quickly.
Okay, so this is real. 76
I think so.
People, 80 million people, whatever it is, have actually watched this thing.
Yeah.
Well, 80 million views doesn't mean 80 million people. Because people can watch it 2 or 3 times. So.
Yeah, the guy who filmed it clicked on it 50 million times already. So, Jamie, do you want to talk a little bit about what this is about for the few million people that didn't see it yet?
Yeah.
Or is it 1,000 people? I don't know.
I don't know. I think there might be 5 people in the world that haven't seen it.
And all 5 of those are web bots, by the way.
They're the web bots.
Exactly.
They're taking a break.
Those 5 people would never, ever find Dreamspire, so what's the point, right?
Right.
So, okay, Kony 2012. Really, really, really nasty, warmongering, homicidal maniac guy in Africa takes children for wars, for soldier slaves and sex slaves. And this happened back in the early 2000s. So we're talking about a decade ago. And basically this video is calling for his arrest and saying that justice needs to be done for all of the Ugandans that were mutilated and killed and suffered a lot of hardship under his dictatorship and the force of his Lord's Resistance Army.
The LRA.
Yeah.
The LRA. Yeah.
It's not really a dictatorship, but yeah, he's basically just a freelance army.
Yeah. And, he's been doing this for, I think, is it 26 years now?
Something
Crazy.
like that.
But the last 10 years are where this guy who's made the video got involved and met some guy called Jacob, or a kid at the time called Jacob, learned all about this, and has been spending a lot of time since then putting this whole Kony 2012 thing together.
And basically he just made a promise to Jacob to stop them.
Right.
And so that's what makes it personal to him, and that's why he's still on this crusade, even though it may not be what he's really selling. From reports that we've seen, other criticisms of the video, Kony is probably not even in Uganda anymore. He's probably in the Congo. So,
yeah, it's just not quite as,
or dead.
Possibly dead. Yeah, it's just not quite as cut and dried as the video kind of makes it out to be. I don't think he hides the fact in the video that Kony's no longer in Uganda, but he kind of skirts around who might be doing Kony's dirty work now if Kony is indeed not the power that he once was. And are we really, is this more of a focus on the right person or right person,
really,
time, or wrong person, right time? I don't know.
Well, he says the purpose of the video is to make Kony famous so that the U.S. government still feels that there's enough interest for us to be training troops in Uganda, giving them counsel. We have 100 of our military forces, 100 men over there under, I think, the direction of Barack Obama. I think he was the one that sent them. And he wants, the filmmaker wants us to stay there and keep teaching these Ugandans how to find Kony, but he's not there. So the purpose of the video that is to raise the awareness about Kony and keep our troops there when they don't need to be there. And I think that's the real issue.
Right. There's a few things about the video that I really wanted to get into. I mean, firstly, the concept of what is happening here, using the media in the way that they're doing it to, as they say in the video, shine a light on a problem and get people united behind that. That in itself is something that I think is pretty dear to all of us here. So when, in one respect, I think we're all really, really happy to see this happening and to see the response that it's having. But there's a certain element of gut feeling, no, there's something odd about this. Now, the first thing that struck me when watching this was the stupidly high production values of the video itself, which isn't a bad thing. But there is one thing in there that I cannot explain. And those are the pictures of Kony himself, where the camera seems to be panning around in sort of a 3D bullet time Matrix style movement. How the fuck did they get that footage? Because usually you'd have to have a whole sleuth of cameras around, all in HD, taking the footage at the same time and panning around seamlessly to pull that together. How did they get that of him?
I know the answer. I actually did a little research and found photographs of what's the kid's name?
Jacob.
The filmmaker.
Oh, Jason, right, okay.
Jason, yeah. Found photographs of him back then, waiting for Kony to arrive at peace talks.
Okay.
And he was posing with some weapons, and so he did have access to Kony at a point back when he first took the video of Jacob. So
I'm not entirely convinced that gives a good understanding of how they achieved that effect, though. I mean, did he have access enough to be able to shove a whole bunch of cameras in front of his face at the same time? That's my question. And also the overall quality of that was just so high.
Yeah.
Jamie, what did you think about it? I know you watched it and thought similar things to me.
Yeah, I thought it was masterfully done, I thought, in that it has enough lowbrow, hey, I'm just, the normal dude next door, neighborly kind of vibe to it, coupled with enough high production value to actually keep you interested and not make you feel like you're watching a home movie.
Right.
Yeah.
He's a brilliant marketer. I mean, an editor of being able to put a video together that makes you feel like you know him and yet gives you high enough production value to keep you hooked. It's brilliant.
It is incredibly well done.
I think that really brings us to talking about, okay, we're real happy that people are starting to do things like this. That's really exciting. But it's in its baby stages. And this is one of the first things we've seen. And now we're learning as a global community how to vet these people, how to spot frauds. And it's going to be a lot more, if we want to have more control over our own world, we get the responsibility that comes with that. We're going to have to do our own vetting, our own research, our own response videos, and make sure that that these people are for real and not just taking advantage of it being brand new and people not being prepared.
I think that's a really important thing. And if we don't have that ability as a global community to go in there and really investigate and look into these things, very bad things could happen as a result just because we all got behind some brilliant marketing. And that's totally usable by governments and other regimes and various different factions of governments. So it's very important that we do have the ability to rationally sit down and discuss these things. I've seen a lot of argument on this about the amount of donation going to charity, and I've heard different figures from different places. The group Anonymous are claiming that it could even be as low as 8%, which is pretty bad if that's the case. Other places are claiming 31%, 32%. And I think Jason and the CEO, I can't remember his name, were talking about 80-odd%. Mm-hmm. So there is some claim about that.
Yeah, varying figures. And, it all comes down to how you slice the pie. What do you count as being part of a development program, and what do you count as cost?
Yeah, that's where it really gets confusing. Now, the thing that gets thrown around quite a lot is that Jason himself is earning $90,000 a year off this, which sounds like a sky-high figure. But let me just put that into context. That one of the major global breast cancer charities, the CEO of that company, is taking away $500,000 every year. So it's not potentially as bad as people are thinking, but is it great? I don't know. What do you guys think?
There's nothing wrong with having a good living, and you have to remember this kid lives in San Diego. The cost of living there is really high. He's probably making just enough to keep his family comfortable.
Right. I think that's an important point here, that these people are actually giving up their life to do this. It is a job, and with a job does come a salary. And I think that should be an expectation that you are able to live at least comfortably off that and have enough money to do what it is that you're doing as well as that. So I think there is a very fine line as to how far that goes, but it's one of those things that's been publicly debated already.
It is a massive problem for people that do charity work. A good friend of mine runs a halfway house for kids that are 18, 19 years old. They no longer work. They're too old for foster care, and basically they just if they get caught with something bad or they screw up, they get thrown in jail. And so this guy goes in, my friend Pete goes in and negotiates to have them released to his home. And he and his wife have four or five kids of their own. And they run this, foster home. And he called me up one day. He's like, you can't tell anyone, but my wife and I are going on a vacation for the first time since we started this 3 years ago. But because we're known as a charity, we can't tell anyone when we're going on vacation because they'll think that we're taking advantage. And that's just ridiculous. They need time to recharge and have a moment to themselves as a couple and be able to take a vacation like anybody else on the planet would.
Right.
Yeah. I think people get real selfish about their money. Okay, I donate to a charity to feed some kids in Africa, right? And I want to see my money go and feed those kids. But the truth is, to get the money to those kids, to get the food purchased, to get it there, that all costs money too. So everything that you're donating to these charities, so long as they're reporting properly, and you probably don't have that much to worry about because they do have overhead costs, and you just have to live with that. You have to understand that people need to make a living. If you want somebody who's passionate enough about it to stay there and make sure it happens properly, they need to be paid to do that. So,
I completely agree with that. And the other thing to look at here is, what sort of salary would he be pulling away doing the same sort of work in general media?
If he wasn't a ton of money. He's very talented. Look at what he's done.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's already sold a film or a script or something to Disney. I mean, the guy's probably doing fine financially anyway.
Mm.
And like you said, Danielle, 90,000 in San Diego, very middle class.
Yep.
Exactly. So it's actually, when you look at this situation, how bad is it? And the other thing is, you've got all these transport costs flying to and from Africa. You've got distribution of materials as well. These guys have printed off, I mean, hundreds and hundreds of thousands, probably getting into the millions now of these boxes full of all the different various posters and other memorabilia and all sorts of stuff that you can go and litter the streets with. That all costs money up front. They've had to produce that before people are buying them. So, and let's not forget, they've only got a month to do this as well.
So let's take a look at the other side of this. Why do you think Anonymous is so anti-Kony 2012 video?
Well, they want to look at who's behind this. Is there anybody behind this other than this guy and, setting up his own thing? They actually point out that this Invisible Children is an incorporated company. So it is a corporation. It's not... Well, they put it as... They view it as being pretty evil and another corporation. I think there's some debate in there. Is there merit in it being an incorporated company? I don't know.
Well, that does strike me as odd. Why isn't it a 501c6 or a 501c3? Those are the nonprofit.
The charity itself is registered under one of those, I believe.
But Invisible Children Inc. is obviously, it's not just a nonprofit. It's also, at some point, if it is incorporated, it is a for-profit company.
Right. So there is...
Maybe it's easier to get things done if you're not restricted so much. But I would ask them, why did you choose to be incorporated? That would be the question.
I think it's a really good question to ask. And I would love to hear the answers, personally. So I guess to round up, I don't want to give a final opinion on this yet because I still don't believe I have full knowledge of what's going on. But what do you guys have as a gut feeling about this right now? Is it a good or a bad thing?
I think it's a really good thing in that it's illustrating what we can do. Now, remember, Phil, I showed you a video that was done by amateurs for a new movie that's coming out that looked like it could have been part of the movie. And, we have this capability now as amateurs, as non-professional professionals, to put out really beautiful material. And I think it's showing us what we can do. And it's also vetting us in us learning how to vet those videos, because they can be very misleading. They can be really, you get all this emotion involved and you're really inspired by it. I mean, I started to feel myself get that way with the Kony video. And then you have to be responsible enough to take a step back and look at it for what it is. So I think it's really exciting to see something like this happen, and the discussion that's happening with it. The criticisms are out there. People are watching those. I think it's really important, and it's just a really exciting thing to see happen. As far as who's in charge of it, what's the purpose, I worry a little. I don't think our troops need to be interfering with people in Africa. I really don't. I don't think it's any of our business. Now, if they're asking us for help, which I don't know, I don't have enough information, but I don't know. If they're asking us for help, they should be asking in the Congo, if we're really going after this guy, Kony. Why are there possibilities that maybe we're situating ourselves in Uganda for other reasons? Yeah, I guess that is kind of a possibility. So this is all part of the vetting process again. We all need to do this research as a community and find out what's the real purpose behind the video. But it is exciting.
Actually, yeah, you have raised a good question for me here, which is, why is it the US getting involved? It seems one of the confusions I have with the video is 1 minute it's global, the next minute it's local, then it's global, then it's local. And for me, putting the US in any country is just not a sensible idea, given the last decade. Realistically, in my mind anyway, this should be something put towards the UN to put pressure on, rather than, and to give assistance where possible there, rather than going to the US directly straight away. And I understand why, because these guys are from the US, that they want to get their government involved. But if we're talking about a global campaign against a country that's outside of the US, then realistically it should be the UN that get involved with this.
Yeah, it should be. But then again, you look at the headlines today and what's going on with Syria, and they're saying over 8,000 people have died so far, and really the UN's done nothing. All the UN has done that I can find is declare that we should have a day of mourning where people wear black bands to...
Now you see, that's useful. That's the kind of shit we're talking about here. The UN, the most effective body out there, they're a brilliant organisation. For those that don't get sarcasm, just to let you know, that was, in fact, sarcasm.
I need to get me a black band. That's exciting.
Let's all wear a black band around our arms.
Okay, in that case, go America.
Well, okay, and also you have to think, okay, the filmmaker, he is from the U.S., so he's going to appeal to his government, and I can understand why that would happen, but, you know, it's kind of hard to trust our government in foreign relations right now. You know, we were supposed to be out of the Middle East by now, and that hasn't happened. Why are we still there? And is Uganda strategic? So, because the Congo is where this guy is if he's still alive.
So for me, there's two options to fix this situation. We either use Canada, because nobody's got any problems with Canada except for the US, which makes them even better. So that's one option. Or we send Putin.
Putin! That's it! That's the answer!
So you can actually talk about this. We put up some videos for and against, and a link to the original video itself in our Kony thread. In what section, Danielle?
That was so 20 seconds
That was
ago,
so 20 seconds ago. That's it, yeah. That's my favorite section.
Yeah, it's our recent news section in our forum, and we'd actually like you guys to give some opinions and help us to investigate a little bit further, because I don't think we're even close to finding out what this is all about. I think the idea is bloody brilliant, and again, the idea itself is not new to us, something we've thought about before, but to see it actually happening and to getting a response is a brilliant thing, and I think it's just that vetting process needs to be thorough for it to be safe.